Hi, my name is Drew Mills, and I'm going to be talking about issues within the true crime genre. So, true crime, as I've discussed previously, is a growing genre that's extremely popular across multiple platforms such as TVs, books, and podcasts. And as this genre kind of picks up traction and popularity, it's sort of spiraled into something that might be causing more harm than it is just being pure entertainment for a general audience. In the Audible Killings, Maya Hibbett discusses that true crime podcasts often have harmful effects in the terms that as they've progressed and evolved, they've become more of investigative journalism, and a lot of true crime podcasts go out and conduct their own investigations. And in doing this, they tend to re-victimize a lot of survivors or victims' families, and it also can inhibit the justice system and how they conduct their official investigation and their official prosecution, as sometimes these cases that they investigate are still active cases. Another problem that's prominent within the true crime genre is the depiction of violence against women. Women are most commonly the subject of true crime narratives, and in doing this, it often depicts very violent crime against women, specifically rape, murder, and kidnapping. Jessica Washek discusses this. She conducted a study of the treatment of women in true crime narratives, and what she found was that these true crime narratives often perpetrate traditional gender roles and paint women as victims, and the fact that they're helpless, and it can also reinforce stereotypes that women will have to suffer consequences for their bodies and the way they dress, and that's why they're targeted for these crimes. And to address this problem, she suggests that producers of true crime media normalize narratives that focus on male victims. And while this may sort of balance out the scale and general perception of who could be a victim of a murder or a rape or a kidnapping, if we're to follow this suggestion, it could possibly perpetrate more violence against men, which wouldn't necessarily be a solution as much as it would be a shift in victim, and this would not ensure any justice for any victims at all. It wouldn't necessarily eliminate that original problem either. Women would still be victims of crime and violent crime, and it would still be entertaining for the public, entertaining, so to speak. So while this may kind of even the scales, it doesn't necessarily bring justice to any victims or offer any real long-term solution. Mark Seltzer discusses this as well. He focuses his book on the effects of serial killers, and women are also most often the victims of serial killers, and he discusses how that seeps into culture and further terrorizes and re-victimizes families and survivors. But he theorizes that if survivors and the families of victims were to come together and share their trauma and discuss the experiences they have in an almost group therapy like way, that the effect of this could be therapeutic and would effectively help them heal one another on a more personal level, as they would be able to have similar experiences and they would be able to discuss unique aspects that wouldn't necessarily be so clear to somebody who hadn't been through that themselves. Obviously, this solution has complications of its own, as it may be hard to reach out. It may have been too traumatic for these families or these victims to discuss what happened to them. And it hinges that they would be willing to meet up and do this kind of thing. So there are all complications with any solution, and one of the main problems is that people don't feel connected. The general audience of true crime media isn't necessarily connected to the idea of this violent crime happening to them or to someone they know. They feel very separated because it is an outlet of media. So there may never be a long-term fix to the way these narratives are handled and the way they are consumed by the general public. But something that could be effectively fixed over time is the way that victims and their families are able to heal and move on despite the retelling of their stories.